My dog came home with an alien girl, and I was surprised by his affection for her. Elias Rowan did not expect his life to change because of a quiet request. He was a human systems engineer on Orion Station, a massive orbital city shared by dozens of species. His work was simple by galactic standards. He checked energy flows, corrected small errors, and repaired systems others considered too minor to matter. Humans were often given these jobs. They noticed details most species ignored. Elias lived alone in a compact diplomatic housing unit. The walls were smooth silver, the lights adjusted automatically, and everything followed strict rules. No clutter, no surprises. That changed the day his new assigned aide arrived. Her name was Kathiri. She was not human. Her species stood slightly taller, with calm movements and eyes that reflected light like polished glass. She wore simple station attire, dark blue with silver markings. Her voice was soft, precise, and steady. "I am assigned to assist with household functions," she said during their first meeting. "Cleaning, scheduling, cultural balance." Elias nodded politely. He had worked with many species before. Most kept distance from humans, especially in private spaces. Kathiri did not. She moved through the living unit silently, learning the layout in minutes. She did not touch personal items unless necessary. She asked careful questions about human habits, food preferences, and sleep cycles. Everything seemed normal until the third day. That morning, Elias was reviewing a station power report when Kathiri spoke from behind him. "Elias Rowan," she said, "I require your assistance." He turned. "Sure. What do you need?" She paused, as if choosing her words with care. "I need you," she said, "to peek." Elias blinked. "Peek?" "Yes." "At what?" She gestured toward a sealed corridor at the back of the housing unit. Elias had seen it before. Every diplomatic unit had one. A restricted observation chamber. Humans were told not to ask about it. "What's in there?" Elias asked. Kathiri's eyes shifted slightly. That was the first sign of emotion he had seen from her. "Something unfinished," she replied. "Something waiting." Elias frowned. "I'm not allowed in restricted areas." "I am aware," she said calmly. "Then why ask me?" "Because you are human." That answer did not help. Elias leaned back in his chair. "Kathiri, if this is a test or a prank, I'd rather not." "It is neither," she interrupted gently. "It is a request made with great risk." Risk. That word caught his attention. He stood slowly and walked toward the sealed corridor. The door was smooth, without handles or panels. A faint symbol glowed on its surface, shifting shapes that meant nothing to him. "Aliens really love secrets," Elias muttered. Kathiri followed but stopped several steps away. "I cannot approach further," she said. "Why not?" "Because my people are forbidden to look inside." Elias turned sharply. "Forbidden? Then why would I be allowed?" "You are not," she answered. "That is why this matters." Elias felt a strange tension in the air. His instincts told him to stop. Humans survived by knowing when not to cross lines, but they also survived by crossing them anyway. He took a breath and stepped closer. "What exactly do you want me to do?" he asked. "Stand before the chamber," Kathiri said, "and look." "That's it?" "Yes." Elias placed his hand near the surface, not touching it. "If alarms go off, this is on you." "I accept responsibility," she replied. He leaned forward. The moment his eyes focused on the symbol, the chamber reacted. Light pulsed outward in soft waves. The symbol changed, slowing, reshaping itself into patterns Elias could understand. Lines, breaks, gaps. The door slid open without a sound. Elias staggered back. "Okay, that definitely wasn't supposed to happen." Inside was a circular room, dark except for a floating structure at its center. It looked unfinished, like a half-built idea made of light and shadow. Symbols rotated around it, constantly shifting. "What is this place?" Elias whispered. Kathiri did not answer immediately. Instead, she bowed her head. "It is called a cognition archive," she said. "Ancient, older than many civilizations." Elias stepped inside slowly. The air felt different, heavier, as if the room noticed him. "What does it do?" he asked. "It observes," she replied, "and waits." "For what?" "For someone who sees differently." The structure reacted again. Symbols aligned. New patterns formed. Elias felt his mind being pulled not painfully but insistently. He saw problems, not disasters, not threats, problems, loops in logic, systems that wasted effort. Designs that assumed perfection where none existed. The archive showed him civilizations rising not because they were strong but because their flaws were ignored. "That's inefficient," Elias murmured. Katheri's eyes widened slightly. "You see it," she said. "See what?" "The errors." Elias laughed softly, unsure why. "Everyone has errors." "No," Katheri said. "Everyone has rules. Humans have questions." The archive responded to his thoughts, adjusting as he focused on one flawed system after another. It was like debugging a massive cosmic machine. Suddenly, alarms echoed faintly through the station. Elias froze. "That's bad." "Yes," Katheri said. "They have noticed activation." "Who is they?" "The council." Elias stepped back out of the chamber. The door did not close. "Katheri," he said slowly, "you need to tell me why you really brought me here." She straightened, her voice steady but heavy. "My people have studied humans in secret," she said. "We observed your history, your failures, your recoveries." "That doesn't sound comforting." "You rebuild," she continued, "again and again, not because you are perfect, but because you accept imperfection." The alarms grew louder. "This archive has waited centuries," she said. "Many species stood before it, none were recognized." Elias swallowed. "Recognized as what?" Katheri met his eyes. "As a pattern breaker." Footsteps echoed in the corridor beyond the living unit. Security. Elias looked back at the glowing chamber, then at Katheri. "What happens now?" he asked. Katheri exhaled slowly. "Now," she said, "they will ask why the archive awakened." "And what will you tell them?" She paused. "That a human peaked." The structure pulsed once more, brighter than before. And somewhere deep within the ancient system, a new designation appeared, linked to Elias Rowan's name. The alarms did not stop. They echoed through Orion's station in steady waves, calm but serious. This was not panic. This was authority. Elias Rowan stood inside his living unit, watching the open cognition archive glow softly behind him. The light felt alive now, aware in a way that made his skin prickle. Katheri moved first. "Step away from the chamber," she said quietly. "Stand near the window." "Why?" Elias asked. "So they see you clearly," she replied. "Humans do better when they are visible." That sounded strange, but Elias obeyed. He crossed the room and stood near the transparent wall that looked out over the stars. The vast curve of Orion's station glittered beyond, calm and beautiful, as if nothing unusual was happening at all. Heavy footsteps reached the door. The door opened without warning. 3 figures entered. They were members of the Galactic Council Enforcement, tall and sharp in form, their armor smooth and reflective. Their species were different, but their expressions shared one thing: control. One of them stepped forward. "Human Elias Rowan," the officer said. "You are ordered to remain still." Elias raised both hands slowly. "I wasn't planning on running." The officer's gaze flicked to the open chamber. "The cognition archive has activated," the officer said. "This is impossible." Katheri stepped forward, placing herself between the officers and the chamber. "I initiated the request," she said calmly. "Responsibility is mine." The officer turned to her. "Observer Katheri, you exceeded your authority." "Yes," she replied. "Knowingly." Elias frowned. "Observer," Katheri did not look at him. "Explain the activation," the officer demanded. The archive pulsed softly as if listening. Elias felt something strange then, not fear but awareness. The system was watching how they spoke, how they reacted. He cleared his throat. "I looked," Elias said. All eyes turned to him. "That's it," he continued. "I just looked. If that's a crime, then it's a pretty small one." The officers stared at him in silence. Finally, one spoke. No human has ever been recognized by the archive. Well, Elias said, there's a first time for everything. Kathiri glanced at him sharply. The lead officer raised a device. A soft field shimmered around the chamber, locking it down. The archive will be sealed, the officer said. The human will be questioned. Here, Elias asked. No, the officer replied, in council space. The word council landed heavy. Kathiri took a step forward. I request presence during questioning. Denied, the officer said instantly. Elias looked at her. It's okay. She shook her head slightly. You do not understand. No, Elias said honestly, but I'll figure it out. The officers activated a transport field. Light wrapped around Elias, lifting him gently off the floor. As he vanished, he saw Kathiri watching him, her calm mask finally cracking just a little. The council chamber was enormous. It was not a room so much as a space shaped by authority. Dozens of species filled the circular tiers, watching Elias as he stood alone on a smooth platform. He felt very human, smaller, softer. Surrounded by beings who had crossed stars long before humans learned to leave their own planet, a voice echoed. Human Elias Rowan, you activated the cognition archive. Explain. Elias took a breath. I didn't activate it, he said. It activated itself. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. That distinction is irrelevant, another voice said. It's very relevant, Elias replied. Machines respond to input. You built something that reacts to perception. You just didn't expect mine. Silence followed. You claim human perception is unique, a counselor asked. Elias shrugged. Not unique, just messy. That caused confusion. Clarify, the council demanded. Elias thought carefully. Most species build perfect systems, clean logic, no wasted steps. Humans don't do that. We build things that break and then we fix them. The archive symbol appeared in the air above him, projected from afar. It responded to you, a counselor said. Why? Elias looked at the symbol. It shifted slightly like it was waiting. Because I didn't try to understand what it wanted, Elias said. I looked for what was wrong. The chamber grew quiet. Kathiri's words echoed in his mind. Humans have questions. The archive is ancient, a counselor said. It predicts collapse. It reveals failure points across civilizations. Then you should listen to it, Elias replied. We have, the council said. For centuries it never activated. Elias met their gaze. Maybe because you were asking the wrong questions. That did it. Energy stirred, voices rose. Disapproval spread. One counselor leaned forward. Are you suggesting the council is flawed? Elias nodded. Everyone is. The room went still. The archive symbol pulsed. New data flowed across the projection. Patterns unfolded, revealing stress points, social, technological, cultural. Elias saw them clearly. He pointed. That trade network fails because you assume cooperation without trust. That defense grid assumes enemies follow rules. They don't. Counselors shifted uneasily. How can you know this? One demanded. Because humans don't trust systems blindly, Elias said. We expect them to fail, so we prepare. The archive brightened further. A new voice spoke, not from the council. Observation confirmed. The chamber froze. That voice, a counselor whispered. The archive has never spoken. Elias felt a chill. The voice continued. Human cognition demonstrates adaptive irregularity. Classification updated. A designation appeared in the air. Pattern breaker. VERIFIED chaos followed. Counselors shouted. Orders flew. Some demanded immediate containment of humanity. Others argued for study. Fear spread faster than reason. Elias stood in the center of it all, heart-pounding. I didn't come here to cause trouble, he said loudly. The voices slowly quieted. I'm just a systems engineer, Elias continued. You want the truth. Humans don't want control. We want problems to make sense. The archive dimmed slightly as if agreeing. A final counselor spoke. What do you propose? Elias thought of Earth, of mistakes, of recovery. Let humans help, he said. Not rule, not lead, just look. Silence followed. Then softly the archive pulsed once more. Decision pending. Far away, Kathiri watched from a restricted chamber, knowing this moment would decide humanity's future. And Elias Rowan realized something terrifying. The galaxy was not afraid of human strength. It was afraid of human understanding. The Council did not answer Elias Rowan right away. Silence filled the great chamber, heavy and uncomfortable. The projection of the cognition archive hovered above, glowing softly as if waiting for a verdict. Elias stood still. He had said his piece. Humans were good at that, speaking honestly, then accepting the consequences. Finally, a counselor spoke. Human Elias Rowan, you propose that humans be allowed access to systems that govern civilizations. I propose that humans be allowed to look, Elias replied. Nothing more. Another counselor leaned forward. Looking changes outcomes. Elias nodded. So does ignoring problems. That caused a ripple of quiet reaction. Many species in the chamber had built their cultures on stability, repetition, and control. Change was dangerous, curiosity even more so. The lead counselor raised a limb. The risk is unacceptable, they said. Humans introduce unpredictability. Elias smiled faintly. So does reality. The archive pulsed once brighter. A new set of symbols appeared, faster now, sharper. The system was running projections. Kathiri watched from a hidden observation room, her hands folded tightly. She had broken rules that defined her entire career. Now she waited to see if she had also changed history. The council saw what the archive revealed: timelines, possibilities. In many of them, civilizations collapsed quietly, not from invasion but from ignored flaws. Rigid systems that could not adapt. Rules followed long after they stopped making sense. In a few timelines, something changed. Humans appeared, not as rulers, not as conquerors, as helpers, as fixers, as the ones who asked, why is this done this way? A counselor whispered, these projections, they are different. Another responded, they are unstable. They are alive, a third said softly. The lead counselor turned back to Elias. You would place your species at risk. Elias shrugged. We've been at risk since the beginning. You may be blamed for failures, the council warned. We already blame ourselves, Elias said. Then we try again. That answer unsettled them more than any threat. After long debate, the council reached a temporary decision. The human will be returned, the lead counselor announced. The archive will be restricted. A controlled trial will begin. Elias blinked. Trial. One system, the counselor said. One failing structure. You will observe and advise under supervision. That's fair, Elias replied. Failure will result in immediate termination of access, the council added. Elias nodded. Understood. The archive pulsed once more. Trial protocol. Initiated the failing system was not military. That surprised Elias. It was a transit ring network, used by millions across multiple species. It was old, complex, and heavily regulated, and it was breaking down. Delays increased. Energy waste grew. Entire populations were slowly being isolated, not enough to cause alarm, but enough to cause harm. The council believed the issue was minor. Elias saw something else. It's not the machinery, he said during the first briefing. It's the rules. The supervising officers exchanged looks. Explain, one demanded. You designed the network to be perfect, Elias said. No flexibility, no room for error. When one part slows, everything waits. That is order, the officer replied. That's a traffic jam, Elias said. They did not like the comparison. Elias requested access to data logs, maintenance records, and human modeling tools. The council allowed limited access, watching closely. Kathiri was assigned as liaison officially this time. You survived, she said quietly when they met again. So did you, Elias replied. Barely, she inclined her head. I am prepared to accept consequences. Let's make it worth it, Elias said. As Elias studied the network, patterns emerged. The system assumed cooperation but punished initiative. Any deviation caused automatic slowdowns. Your network treats adaptation as failure, Elias explained during review. Humans would do the opposite. The council listened with visible discomfort. Elias proposed small changes, local decision-making, temporary overrides, human-style feedback loops. This will introduce inconsistency, a counselor argued. Yes, Elias agreed. But controlled inconsistency is how you prevent collapse. Reluctantly, they allowed a limited test. The results were immediate. Transit delays dropped. Energy waste reduced. Traffic flowed more smoothly, even during unexpected surges. The archive monitored everything. Efficiency increase. Confirmed word spread quickly. Other systems requested human observation. Others demanded it be stopped. Fear grew, not because humans failed, but because they succeeded. Some council members argued that humans would become too influential. That dependence would grow, that balance would shift. Then the sabotage happened. A critical relay node failed, intentionally altered. The network shuddered. Entire sectors went dark. Alarms spread across the council. They looked at Elias. "You interfered too much," one accused. Elias stared at the data. "This wasn't my work." "Prove it," the council demanded. Elias did not argue. He traced the failure calmly, following the logic. The sabotage used rigid assumptions, old rules, not human ones. "This was done by someone who wanted failure to look like adaptation," Elias said. Katheri's eyes widened. "They are trying to discredit humanity." "Yes," Elias said, "because fear is easier than change." The archive pulsed sharply. A new projection appeared, identifying the true source of the sabotage, an internal council faction. Silence fell. The truth was undeniable. The council faced a choice now far larger than one human: punish one of their own or deny reality. The lead counselor spoke slowly. "Human Elias Rowan, what would your species do?" Elias thought carefully. "We'd admit the mistake," he said. "Then fix it." The archive brightened. Across the chamber, Katheri felt something rare: hope. But Elias knew the hardest part was still ahead. Because helping systems was easy, changing minds was not. And now the galaxy knew something dangerous. Humans could see what others refused to face. The council chamber had never felt so fragile. Elias Rowan stood at the center again, but this time the silence was different. It was not the silence of authority. It was the silence of doubt. The sabotage had been exposed. The truth hovered in the air like an open wound. One of the council's own factions had tried to destroy the transit ring network to prove that human involvement was dangerous. Instead, they had proven something else. They had proven that the council feared change more than failure. The cognition archive glowed steadily above them, calm and watchful. The lead counselor spoke at last. "The evidence is clear." The disruption did not originate from the human. Murmurs spread across the chamber. "However," the counselor continued, "this incident confirms our concern. Human influence forces confrontation. It destabilizes established power." Elias nodded slowly. "Yes," he said, "it does." The council stiffened. "But destabilizing power isn't the same as destroying it," Elias went on. "Sometimes it's the only way to save what matters." Katheri watched from her position beside the observers. She had never seen the council so uncertain. Rules had guided them for ages. Now rules were no longer enough. Another counselor spoke. "Human Elias Rowan, your species creates dependency. Others may rely on you." Elias shook his head. "No, we teach others how to rely on themselves. We just help them see the cracks." The archive pulsed once, approving. Data expanded outward, more projections, more futures. In the timelines without humans, systems failed quietly. In the timelines with humans, systems struggled, but adapted. The difference was not comfort. The difference was survival. The council reviewed the data in silence. Finally, the lead counselor turned to Katheri. "Observer Katheri," they said, You violated multiple protocols. Yes, she replied calmly. Why? The council demanded. Kathiri lifted her head. Because I saw the same patterns over and over, civilizations that refused to question themselves. I believed humans could help us do that. You gambled the balance of the galaxy, a counselor accused. Kathiri did not deny it. Yes, the council paused. Then something unexpected happened. The archive spoke again. Conclusion updated, it said. Human cognition classified as adaptive stabilizer. The chamber froze. Clarify, the council demanded. Human presence increases short-term uncertainty, the archive explained. Long-term collapse probability reduced. The data was clear. The council had built perfection. Humans built resilience. The lead counselor closed their eyes briefly, a gesture of great weight. The council will decide, they said. Moments passed, then minutes. At last the verdict came. Humanity will not be contained, the council announced, nor will it rule. Elias let out a slow breath. Humans will serve as independent observers and advisors, the council continued. By invitation only, no authority, no enforcement. That's fine, Elias said. We don't like being in charge anyway. A ripple of uncertain reaction passed through the chamber. Kathiri felt relief so strong it almost weakened her legs. The cognition archive will remain active, the council added. Linked to human pattern breakers. The archive pulsed brightly. Status: humanity accepted the changes did not happen all at once. They never did with humans. Small teams were formed. Engineers, analysts, sociologists. People who had spent their lives fixing broken systems on Earth. They were sent across known space, not to command, to ask questions. Why is this done this way? What happens if this fails? What are you afraid to change? At first, many civilizations resisted. Pride ran deep. But problems did not wait for pride to fade. Slowly, results spoke louder than fear. Energy grids stabilized, trade disputes eased, transit systems improved. Social tensions were addressed before they became disasters. Humans did not bring perfection. They brought honesty. Elias returned to Orion Station months later. His life looked almost normal again. Almost. The sealed corridor was still there, but now it remained open by choice. The archive no longer glowed constantly. It had learned something too. It waited. Kathiri continued her assignment, officially now as a liaison between species. She no longer wore the quiet mask she once had. There was confidence in her movements. You changed everything, she said one evening as they looked out at the stars. Elias shook his head. No. We just pointed at the cracks. She considered that. That is enough. Requests began arriving daily. Other species wanted human advisors. Some asked carefully. Others asked desperately. One message stood out. It was simple. Request: permission for human observers to peek. Elias laughed softly when he read it. He forwarded it to Earth. Humanity responded the way it always had, with debate, with disagreement, with hope, and with a simple answer: yes. The galaxy did not become perfect, but it became honest. And for the first time in a very long time, it began to grow stronger not by hiding flaws, but by facing them. Far from the council chambers, the cognition archive recorded its final note. Pattern breakers identified. Cycle stabilized. Then it dimmed content. Because the future no longer needed to be predicted, it could be built.